Hello, this is Toby the Galactic Intuitive. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I appreciate you guys so much. In today's message, we're continuing on from prior messages about superdimensional sight, because I had an experience with it over the last few days that I wanted to share with you guys to bring a little bit more information to you. I got a very short message from the Nine explaining it as well. And so I wanted to share this with you as so many of you have downloaded the Superdimensional Sight activation and light language transmission. Thank you so much for doing that and for your donations. I really greatly appreciate it. And I hope that it has resonated for you and that you found it helpful. If so, I would absolutely recommend that you continue to use it, as the Nine mentioned in their prior message about this, and in working with the frequencies from 3i Atlas. This window from the end of October into early to mid-December is kind of prime time for reception of these activations. Although I will say and reiterate this again, these messages are truly timeless, because not all of us are on the same timeline as far as our path of ascension. So that's not to say that if you see this 6 months from now that the activations and the information is no longer valid or valuable. That is absolutely not true. Whenever you come across this is when it's perfect timing for you. It's divine timing for you. It may be too that you come across this video, it doesn't necessarily resonate, and then months down the road, the subject comes back up again. If that occurs, I would absolutely encourage you to revisit this information, because again, where we are on our own paths is very unique. So there is no wrong or right, and there is no someone's ahead and someone's behind. You are exactly where you're meant to be, right when you're meant to be there. So now that that's been said, the experience I had was something that I am calling a waking dream. And actually the Nine called it a waking dream. And it began during a meditation, but it was not, it was different in my experience from other visual type experiences I've had during meditation. The sensations of it were different. The number of physical senses that were involved in it were much higher than in past meditative experiences. The Nine, and so I questioned the Nine about, what was that? That was different. What happened? And they said that this was a superdimensional sight waking dream that we may, as we are going through this activation process and integrating and remembering, reconnecting with the superdimensional sight, that this is one of the ways that it'll present itself. That this isn't the only way. Oh, there goes the nose. And that this is not the end result of what it's like to experience superdimensional sight, but in part of the integration process of this, these waking dreams may occur. So, and their statement about it was the state of, as far as the waking dream, the state of passing the threshold, entering rooms along the hallway, where you are not only seeing, but feeling and hearing the environment and experience there. Now, if you have not seen the last video we talked about, and the part of their message about time and the threshold of time travel, utilize the analogy of the threshold and entering rooms along the hallway. The way I have experienced the meditative experiences, the way I have experienced meditative visions and experiences in the past was, again, there were several different senses that were utilized. However, it wasn't the full incorporation of so many of my physical senses, that it felt not only, how do I describe this? Not only like a visual experience of it, but the full like somatic experience of it. And I would equate it to a sleeping dream. When you have an intense dream, it is it can be especially something that is frightening. Now, this was not frightening at all in my experience, but because of the intensity of the emotion during that type of dream, it feels very real. We can sense the anxiety or the fear in our body during that dream, and even coming out of it, right? Your heart might be racing, you may be sweaty, you may feel anxious. This was similar, although again, it did not bring fear at all. It was actually a quite calming experience, but it had the same effect. It had a physical type effect upon me, and it was bringing together so many of my physical senses, in addition to the superdimensional sight and the intuitive vision and those higher levels of consciousness, shall we say. So that was one thing I wanted to share with you guys. In addition, this is the second part of this. I have a separate message, and I'm going to include it in this video because I know we're going to get more of it, but I want to present this first packet of information about this to you guys because this is also something that's happening for me concurrently. It's been going on for probably the last 2 to 2.5 weeks, and it's this very, very, and speaking of somatic experiences and all of these things really being felt in the physical body, this is a heart chakra expansion. And as I was preparing to bring this to you guys, I was sensing in the collective this sort of almost disbelief that a heart chakra expansion could be possible, considering different things that are going on in the external world. However, those two things actually go together. We've talked about the polarity of experience and that pendulum of swinging far one way and to the other, and it's the neutrality in the middle is where is the alignment we're moving towards, right? So as more things unfold in the collective experience, more things unfold in the collective experience, and more things unfold in the personal experience as well. So this heart expansion, and I've got some notes here, and then I have some notes and some tidbits from the 9, and then I have a little bit longer channeled message from the 9. So I'm going to go through this with you guys now. The heart expansion is in relation to, and this is something that I'm feeling on a physical level. So my qualifier would be, of course, I am not a medical professional. If you are experiencing any physical symptoms that are concerning for you, please reach out and seek medical assistance or guidance. Speaking of it energetically, I am feeling it somatically. I am feeling it in my physical body. I asked the 9 about this and about what I was experiencing, and they described it as, yes, it's a heart expansion. It is because the toroidal field of the heart is expanding, and it is creating a new norm of energetic field around the heart space. In the early stages, we experience it as elevated states of emotionality, empathic abilities, and our intuitive abilities can be amplified. And this is the next level activation of superdimensionality. It is connecting the superdimensional sight with the heart space. Let's see. With the expansion of the energetic field of the heart, okay, so this is where let me back up a little bit. This is where the longer message from the 9 begins. So I'm going to read this to you guys, and then we'll dig into it a little bit more. With the expansion of the energetic field of the heart, the confluence of frequencies from the heart and the amplification of photonic activity from the DNA activations occurring create a cascade of light. The confluence of the expanded field heart energy with the amplified photonic cellular activity creates an energetic field which is new to the human physical experience. This field is unlike others from and experienced by the human physicality, a field which is both mutable and coherent, one which has the ability to shift in shape without any loss of frequency state or breaks along its leading edge. The entire field holds its frequency, whereas previous energetic fields emanating from the human physicality and energetic centers had noticeable fading effect as they expanded from their source. This is no longer the case with the confluence of heart space energy with the photonic cellular emission. These two sources now working in tandem with each other in ways previously unseen or described in the human, except in ascended masters. This is not to say that all humans experiencing this heart photon confluence will or are at mastery level. We speak of a process, not an immediate action. As humanity moves towards ascension, this is an integral part of the path, and one many of you are beginning to feel, and witness within yourselves. The waves of grief and elevated emotional states were precursors to this expansion, a necessary purging of emotion, either personal or ancestral, from the emotional physical body field in order to allow for the expansion. With this purging, the emotional weight, again, whether personal or ancestral, would have limited this expansion. Alongside the purging, you witnessed self in a new way. A new light, you may say. This light was the emerging photonic emissions, also elevated and amplified by the DNA activations received over the prior months and years. You must understand the length and depth of this process is not quick nor linear. This is an unfolding initiated long ago in your human definition of time. It is one we will continue to speak on to offer supportive information and guidance as it progresses. Okay, so with this expansion, I have noticed that let's go back to that emotional purging. I certainly have over the past couple of months had segments of a lot of emotional purging, not connected with any particular event or person or environment, situation, anything like that, but just a lot of emotion coming up. So that will be, again, they've noted this is a precursor to this next stage of the superdimensional development. And it helps to, again, it is individual and ancestral. That ancestral aspect to it is exactly why, and it may happen for you as well, or maybe you've already experienced this, that there's so much emotional release without, again, connection to any particular, I'm hearing activity or situation or person even. So allowing that to release, allow yourself to be in that emotion without attaching a story to it. And now that I'm saying that, I'm pretty sure that we had a message about this a couple of months ago, maybe not even that long ago. So allowing yourself to release those emotions without attaching a story to it, without trying to determine its source, because by doing that, you're actually reconnecting with the story of whatever the root or the source of that emotion is. And we don't want to do that. So much of this and so many of us are doing this purging for our ancestors, for our families and our lineages, and for the collective. So it's not necessary to know where it's coming from. Our purpose here with these, and this is not to say that if you have emotion that is associated with something going on for you personally to not look at that or reflect upon it. This is something totally separate from that. If this emotion comes up and you really don't know where it's coming from, allowing it to just be what it is, allowing yourself to release it and not attach a story to it. So that is the part of the precursor to this expansion of the heart space and heart energy, and then the confluence of that with these amplified photonic emissions happening from our cells. Speaking of that, I think the message that, when did those messages start coming through about the photon activations within our cells and our DNA? I believe those began last summer. So I'll link one or two of those in the description box for this video in case you're interested in checking that out. As I began to experience the physical sensations of this expansion, I have noticed, as they mentioned, an amplification in my empathic and intuitive sensitivity, an elevated sensitivity all the way around. I know we've been talking about that for at least 6 months as well. I know from talking with other people on this path that it's happening for a lot of people out there. So you may resonate with that as well. Oh, there goes my light. And that sensitivity is related to that expansion. Part of it is the peeling away of those layers, the removing of those blocks, those emotional anchors that we're talking about releasing through these segments of purging. All of these things are, of course, are intertwined. It's not to pull one out and say, aha, that's the reason for it, but it's to recognize how these are all weaving together and integrating together to allow us to continue to elevate and allow us to remember and reconnect with and access these amazing abilities and tools that we have available to us. Let me breathe. That's a lot of energy. So then the next portion was, feeling the expansion, feeling we talked about bumping up against other frequencies. And so as your heart space energy expands, and I'm reaching my hands out beyond the field of view of the camera, but as your heart space energy expands, then there is the potential and likelihood of sensing energies that are not as close to you as they were before, either physically or energetically. But also they talked about how with this amplified heart space energy, that with the confluence and the addition of the photons being emitted and how they have been amplified, it creates a consistent field around the heart space. And that is different from the heart space frequency or heart space energetic field that we have experienced previously and that we have created through our own heart space. So instead of the energy thinning out or fading out towards the edges, it remains consistent. And what's the other word I want to use? I can't think of the other word, but it remains consistent throughout that energetic field. So you will certainly notice that your physical experience of this energetic field feels different because the field itself is different. Something in particular I wanted to be sure to mention is that as I've experienced this, I've been making note of when I really feel the expansion, and because there have been moments when it feels uncomfortable, and not uncomfortable in a painful way, uncomfortable as if it's not a tightness that's pressing down, and it is a tightness of an expansion being held in. Now that's an odd thing to experience physically, but it came to my awareness as I was notating what I was feeling and when I was feeling it, that's exactly what's going on. Because the heart energy field is expanding, that again, just what I was talking about as far as in relation to people in different environments, you will notice yourself bumping up against things. If you are in an environment that is not conducive to an amplification of your heart space, you're going to feel the pressure. So as an example, let's use this example. Let's say that the toroidal field of your heart space is a balloon, okay? And it's a balloon that is this big, right? After your awakening, your heart energy expanded, and it expanded to this size. Well, at this size, you've moved through different environments and in interactions with different people, and you've noticed where maybe it's bumped up against things and it felt a little bit pressured, it felt a little constricted. However, the difference now is because your heart field, let me back up a little bit. It felt a little constricted, but again, the leading edge of that toroidal field, the energy had faded out a little bit. So you may have felt some pressure, but it actually had to push down further. Those external pressures had to push further in for it to have a very strong sensation on you. So the difference now, though, is that as the toroidal field of your heart has expanded with this amplification we're talking about here, the energy within that balloon, now not only is the balloon bigger, but the energy is consistent. So not only is it bigger, so it's not going to fit into the same small spaces, but you're going to notice right away in those same small spaces. Like when it was this size, you could be in those spaces for longer because it took a little bit longer for the pressure to push down and to get to where the energy was a little bit stronger, and it made a noticeable effect on your physicality. Now, again, we've talked about how our sensitivity has increased, and this is part of it. They go hand in hand. So now your heart space energy with this amplification, this expansion is out to here. The balloon is this big, and the energy at the leading edge of that toroidal field is equal in its intensity and strength and the frequency as that is right at the center of your heart chakra. So anytime it bumps up against something that is restrictive or constrictive or is out of alignment, you're going to know it right away. And you may feel it as that sensation of physical pressure upon your heart space. Now, this also leads us back to so many times the nine have talked about honoring your body, listening to your body, and getting to know the communication from your body. And this is also part of this process. And so you may start to notice different things happening, and you're feeling these different energetic sensations. I would highly recommend making a note. I always recommend journaling, but journaling what you're experiencing, when you're experiencing it, where you're experiencing it, and begin to see the pattern. Determine the pattern and figure out what that is telling you about those places. And again, I keep doing this. Your balloon, your toroidal field is out to here. It actually is probably bigger than that. I know it's bigger than that because the heart space usually is at least that big anyway. So This is this heart energy expansion and this changing in the toroidal field of the heart space, and the confluence of that happening alongside and along with integrating with the photonic amplification, and then how that changes how much light we are actually emitting. Those two things merging together, this is, I have to find, what did they say here? This is where they mention the ascended masters, right? And this has not been experienced by humans with the exception of the ascended masters. And that, as they said, you know, this is a continually unfolding process. It's not to say that we have reached mastery level by any means at this point, but to have the awareness of that so that we are allowing that to continue and taking steps to support ourselves in this expansion and amplification, recognizing and listening to those signals that we're receiving then from this expanded heart field that are telling us where we're feeling restriction, where we're feeling that external pressure, the situations, people, environments that are not allowing space for that expansion of our heart space and for the full expression of that amplified light coming from within us. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. I think that was enough. Okay, I am going to leave it there. I hope you guys found this helpful. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you're already experiencing this. I am certain that there are many of you who are, which is why I wanted to get this to you right away. I found it really fascinating, and I do hope that you find this helpful. And again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys so very much, and I will be back soon.